Hey everybody, we are back for week 18 of our Effects on Violin series. I can't believe it's been 18 weeks, holy cow. This week we are not talking about just one effect, but an entire family of effect called modulation effects. Of course, in this series we're hitting a different effect or family of effects every week. We will talk about what that effect is and how you use it, what the parameters are, how can I put it in my signal chain, all the kind of stuff around that. We'll talk about the science of how to do that. And then most weeks we'll have a guest artist who will talk about the art side of that. How do we use this as a paintbrush to paint some beautiful sonic sounds? And this week we have the amazing Tracy Silverman, who is going to teach us about modulation effects. And he's an amazing artist, but also an incredible teacher. I'm going to put up a link to my discussion with him right here. He will have lots and lots and lots of audio examples so that you can hear what each of these effects sounds like and talk about how he uses each one of these effects and what sort of the pros and cons are, what some of the common pitfalls for each one. It's a really, really fantastic discussion. I think you're going to learn a lot. This is a partial list of modulation effects. He's going to talk about each one of these. And again, I think it's going to be really informative for you. What exactly is a modulation effect, though? Each modulation effect takes your dry signal, makes a copy of it, manipulates the copy, and then pairs it back with your original signal. This is an example for all of you who are under 50. These are tape machines. We used to use tape to put musical sounds on. Now it's all hard drives. But yeah, back in the olden days, we had to use tape players. So this is showing your source machine. We would have some go by untouched, and then a flanger, they literally just put their hand on the flange of the tape machine, hence the name, and then it would combine those two sounds back, and that would be your mastered sound. What a flanger does is the copy of your dry signal is slightly delayed and then added back into the signal. This is what a phaser would look like. It changes the phase, so the copied signal, we change the phase of that. But if you imagine that the horizontal axis is time instead of phase, that's what a flanger would look like. Remember our wah pedal demonstration we talked about a few weeks ago? We said it's a sweepable bandpass EQ filter that's controlled by a foot pedal. And so this is that band of frequencies that allows to pass through. Everything else is cut. That's what that bell shape is that you're seeing. And then the center frequency is moving back and forth depending on how you move your foot when you're playing. But what if there was a little robot that could move that center frequency so that you didn't have to do it? And we could tell that robot how fast to move that center frequency or how far to move that center frequency, and it would allow a very repeatable, controllable, steady sound. Well, there is such a thing, and it is called a low-frequency oscillator. Now, generally in music, we talk about frequencies as being the things you can hear, like 440 hertz is open A on a violin in most places. This is slower than that. This frequency, we're talking about how fast that oscillator is turning back and forth. It could be 1 hertz, it could be a half a hertz, it could be 2 hertz, which hertz is cycles per second. So if I want that knob to turn back and forth 1 time per second, that would be 1 hertz. And we can tell it how far. If I want it to go from like 4 to 6 on the wheel or from 0 to 10, that would be how far. Fast, again, is how fast the little robot's turning the knob. And then what shape to cycle in. Do I want it to slowly turn up from 0 to 7 and then slam back to 0 and then slowly back up again? That would be a triangle or a sawtooth wave. A triangle would be just, steady turning up and down. A sine would be that we start kind of slow and then speed up and then slow down, right? So we can change the manner in which the robot turns that knob. So if we go back to flangers or phasers, the offset in the timing for a flanger, the offset of the timing of that copied signal can be varied. So here's your original signal. Let's say original signal. Here's the copy of your signal. We offset that by time. Well, we can change that offset. So your signal is coming through straight, and then the delay actually gets more and less as we're going through, and that kind of creates a warbling sound that gives us a sort of a dynamic effect which not dynamics like piano and forte, but dynamic mean that it is moving, it is changing with respect to time. Now, each one of these modulation effects is changing something different. So tremolo is changing volume. So it takes a copy of your signal and it will change the volume of that copy, turning it up and down, and then blending it back with your signal. Vibrato changes the pitch of that copied sound. Flanger and chorus both do time and pitch offsets. Phaser changes the phase of the copied signal, and Leslie changes the pitch. Leslie is the rotating speaker thing, like you watch the old school Hammond B3 organist. They've got a box sitting next to them that's got speakers in it that are spinning, and it uses the Doppler effect. That's Leslie, or a rotating speaker. Now, didn't I just say that flange and chorus are changing the same things, and Leslie and vibrato are changing the same things? From a 30,000-foot view, yes, they are essentially the same, but the implementation of those are different, and they sound different, and Tracy will do some demonstrations of that in his video that's coming up. The parameters that we can control on these modulation effects are essentially controlling the LFO, so how fast it moves, how deep it moves, what the shape of that movement is, and then the mix, how much of that manipulated signal is brought back in with our dry signal. You can have it very subtle where you just barely hear that modulation, or you can have it where your dry signal is all the way out and all you hear is the manipulated signal. And then, of course, anything in between. It is, of course, important to understand the science of what it is that we're modulating with each one of these, but it's more important to understand what they sound like and how you use them. And again, Tracy does an outstanding job of explaining that, so be sure to check out this next video. I will say, generally in your signal path, you're going to put modulation effects kind of in the back half of your signal chain. It's not a rule, it's just kind of a convention. If you're going to do some pitch shifting or some EQ and that sort of thing, or some amplification if you're doing distortion or whatever, we often put modulation effects after those. And then we would often put reverb and delay after the modulation effects. Again, not a rule. That's just kind of how most people tend to do it. There's a couple different ways to get these. You can use stomp boxes or multi-effects. With stomp boxes, there might be 100 different chorus pedals out there. There's probably more than that. But you could get a hold of 100 different chorus pedals, and they all do basically the same thing, but they will do it a little bit differently. And you can get very specific about which chorus you want. With a multi-effects, it may only have one chorus pedal in that multi-effect. And you're like, well, that's fine. I don't really know if I want chorus, but this allows me to kind of explore that. And you go, oh yeah, I like that. And that's, I'm not going to get super picky about exactly what the chorus sounds like, but yeah, it gives me the effect. So stomp boxes are if you want to get very, very specific about your sound. Multi-effects for most people are going to be, oh, this is just easier. I'm going to use chorus on one or two songs. It's not worth going out and spending an extra $600 to get exactly the perfect chorus pedal for me. So both of those are legit ways to do your sound. Just wanted you to be aware of both of those methods. Now, this is the part you guys have been caring about. This is the part I'm looking forward to. Introduce you to Tracy Silverman, who is going to be leading the discussion on how these modulation effects sound, what they do, all the cool stuff, how he uses them. Please subscribe to our channel, please. Please watch this video with Tracy, and then when you're done, you can watch something else. We got lots of videos. Hope you enjoy those.